it was a lot of similarities, obviously, with Michael Jordan's game. I go back a little bit with Dr. J, so I kind of follow the trend. But Kobe had his own style. He had his own way about him. And just to see him go at 41 is a very unfortunate thing.
What made him a star that stood out among stars for you?
His work ethic. He was always in the gym, never stopped, trying to get better, trying to do things differently than other stars were doing. And yeah, like he was something special.
He was driven. Well, thank you both very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Check in over here. Sarah, Jeff, this is a young lady I saw over here, and you were really having a tough time dealing with this. Your name, please?
I'm Shanice.
Shanice, and your last name?
Clark.
Okay. You've been standing here, and I'm guessing boyfriend comforting you, but you were really distraught earlier. Your thoughts?
It's just hard. It's really unreal, and it's really heartbreaking. Like, this is somebody who meant a lot to LA, not just because he was one of the greatest talents that will ever come from this city, but he's a big part of a lot of people's pastimes. Like, a lot of people, like even me, like, I remember going to the games as a kid with my dad, and we would just get the nosebleed seats and bond, and like, that's something that's instilled in your childhood. So when he's gone, like, a lot of our memories feel a little bit torn.
And for most of us, we're going to die when we get to be 95 or 102 or something like this. 41 years old, a vibrant personality. That is what's so hard to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how his wife's going to get through this, but I know the whole city of LA and the world is going to be right behind her. There's a lot of love in this city, so we're just going to try and be there for everybody the best way we can, and hopefully they do something big to remember him. And we feel him every day, but this hurts.
You're looking up there, and I just saw you just staring at the smoke coming up from the wreckage there, and thoughts going through your mind.
It's one of those things where if you don't see it, you don't believe it. I have a lot of people like messaging me and calling me like, is this real? And I live so close, I had to come and see, because it's like, there's just no way. There's no way. So it's really heartbreaking, and I'm looking at it right now, and I still don't believe it, and I don't want to believe it.
I understand that. And are you surprised that you're joined by so many Kobe fans?
Not at all. I am not surprised. I think this is just the start. I think it's going to be really, really crowded for quite a while. And it's just going to be crazy for a long time.
My best to you.
Thanks.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Hey, Greg, we understand that Kobe was traveling with 3 others, and Kobe makes 4. The pilot is one. That's 5 on board of that aircraft. None survived. Are you hearing any word there at the scene as to who may have passed away beyond Kobe Bryant?
I am. What I'm hearing, I've heard that one of his daughters was on board with him, and a parent of another child that was a basketball player, and that child. And I also have heard that they were heading to a tournament, or heading now, I guess, back from a tournament. That is what I've heard. I have not confirmed that, but that is what I'm hearing.
Certainly we're going to work to confirm that, and we want to wait until we confirm that information before we share it in an official capacity with our viewers. But Greg, certainly if that is true, this loss is just compounded, and Kobe Bryant's family, who is very tight-knit, as Jim Hill has been reporting, and as we've all seen throughout the years, this is a really, really tough time for them. I've been getting texts from friends all afternoon since this happened. Family members, friends, heartbroken, they're crying, and I got a text from another friend who's a basketball player who I've played sports with over the years, and she said she just feels like a piece of her heart is gone.
Well, it's amazing because, it's not just LA friends. I have friends in Detroit and San Antonio, and I've had text messages from them all expressing their concern and their dismay as to what happened here with Kobe Bryant on this Sunday morning. Let's go now to Joy Benedict. She is live in front of Kobe's home in Newport Beach. What's the latest there, Joy? Do we have Joy? I guess not. Okay, well, let's continue to give you the latest information. This is about 9:40. Is she there?
She's going to be joining us in just a few moments. We're establishing a signal with her now. Just so you know, Joy is in Newport Coast. Kobe is a longtime resident of that area, as many people know in the LA area. And I think I've talked to Jim personally over the last couple weeks and months about people seeing Kobe in Orange County and stopping traffic, and just what an amazing thing that was to see.
Oh, it really is. And like I mentioned a little while ago, he's one of the few people that I have ever known that can walk across the street and stop traffic.
Right.
and people would just yell and scream and holler, Kobe, Kobe, Kobe. And I would see young kids just break away from their parents and start running towards them. And, the heck with traffic and stuff like that. Yeah, and one of the people that I respect the most, I call him, if you're familiar with astrology, he's like that shining star. He can get you back. Discovered Kobe and Jerry West, and Jerry is with us right now. And Jerry, I appreciate you being here with us today, my friend, because I know this is a tough day for all of us, but especially for you because you were the one that discovered Kobe.
Well, Jim, I really didn't discover Kobe, okay? There was, he was a great young high school player in that time. It wasn't in vogue to draft players like that. And to say it was part of the process of getting here. His agent, Nortel, and myself were able to, working through the draft till he became a Laker. And those were very exciting moments. Young, charismatic kid like him, but more importantly, a very unique talent. And it was start of a long, I don't say process, but start of a long friendship and working relationship. And to hear this news this morning, frankly, at first I was shocked. And then after a while, it's really sunk in. And, to see the transformation of him from a 17-year-old kid who used to spend time at my house with me to my son Ryan driving him around because he couldn't drive. He couldn't even sign a contract because he was too young. To him, the constant questions about the NBA, wanting me to go to a gym with him to watch him work out and maybe make suggestions to him. It was more than, I really felt like a surrogate father to him. And then as his career blossomed and, he started to establish this enormous reputation as a player and also filled with accomplishments. But his charisma on top of it was something that most great players don't have, and he had it. But to wake up to this news, this has been one of the most horrible days of my life. I felt like I've lost a son, and frankly, not doing very well.
Yeah, Jerry, I know there's only a few people that have had a really intimate relationship with Kobe, and you are one of them because you were with him there through the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
Well, Jim, it wasn't all rosy. It never is, and particularly for someone like him who was so anxious for success. I remember there's one personal thing I remember. I said to him after a game where he played, and I said, "Man, you look a little tired tonight." And he said to me, he said, "I just proposed to my wife, to hopefully my new wife." And I'll never forget that moment. It was in the locker room right after a game. And, to see him get married, have children, and change a career so drastically to where he was making a difference in his world, not as an athlete, but as a very bright person. His interest in women in terms of his basketball academy, the pride that he took into those things, and to see that all taken, and his family, my God, there's going to have to be some really strong people out there supporting them, because this is the worst news you could ever get.
I know it's difficult, Jerry. You knew him better than anyone. And the other thing is, he came to you for advice, not only about basketball, but just about growing and maturing into a young man responsible to his family and to the community as well, didn't he?
Well, Jim, as I say, I don't want to go around saying that I was responsible for his life. Period. I don't, because that would be grossly unfair. But the thing that I will share with you is how, to me, the things I saw him, the maturity that I saw him grow into. I saw him grow up. I saw him deal with, press that was negative at times and he played the game with a flair. And anytime you play the game with a flair, you're susceptible to making mistakes. But I was his biggest supporter. But also, I had some very serious talks with him about how he needs to change his game a little bit to be able to accommodate himself with his other teammates. But I think the thing that brought me great joy was to watch him with his wife and his kids. It was truly inspiring for me to see this. He lived in a world of testosterone, okay, as all athletes do. And for him to be able to separate the athletic accomplishments with his personal accomplishments and the things that he was doing to have a successful career. This was a brilliant kid. This wasn't some athlete who just happened to be a great basketball player. He was more than that. And Jim, it's those.
Yeah, I know, Jim.
It's going to take a long time for me to get over this one.
Jerry, why do you think he is still so beloved today, even though he's been out of the game for a couple of years?
Jim, I think players that play the game with a flair, okay? You see a lot of great players who, look at Abdul-Jabbar's career, okay? And he just had a completely different personality. And you can arguably say he's the greatest career of anyone. But yet people, I don't think, will equate and look at him the same way they do as Irvin Johnson. He played the game with a flair. He had a great vibe with the fans. He still does. He's bigger than life. And Kobe's legacy, that it will remain forever. His impact will remain forever. And, but my God, I just feel so horrible for his family. Oh my goodness.
And for as great a basketball player as he was, Jerry, and I've said many times, and I've heard you say it too, he was a better family man, a husband and father. Man, he loved those ladies in his home.
Well, as I say, all you had to do was see him with them. That's all you had to do. And I once kidded him one time after he had a couple of girls, and again, I'm not someone who goes around and communicates with players, ex-players, okay? I don't think that's my position in this world. I just know the admiration that I have for the players that have really achieved something special, but sometimes the ones who haven't. But with him, as I say, he had a little extra gold dust sprinkled on him, and I was kidding him. I said, "You're not a man." I said, "You have all these women in your life." And of course he laughed at it. But to think that I won't see him, to think his family won't see him, people who loved him, people who admired him, just god awful.
He was a gift, wasn't he, Jerry?
Jim was definitely a gift. Yes, he was. And as I say, you never know when a kid is born what it's going to be. And even though he was the son of a basketball player, it's hard to imagine his excellence, people call it Mamba mentality. I don't. he was just born with an incredible desire to win. It had nothing with his mentality. He just wanted to win at all costs, and he would win at all costs. He laid his life on the line every night when it came to winning. Losing was not in his vocabulary, and with a lot of great players, but he just had this persona that very few have, a lot desire, and a lot will never have, even though they've had great careers.
Jerry, would you say he was one of the most singularly focused athletes you've ever been around?
Yes, gentlemen, I think in today's day and age, and particularly with the more social media that we have today, it gets talked about so much, okay? But there's other players that's had that same focus, and I think because he talked about it, because people wanted to know what drove him, and he talked about it a lot more. But there's a lot of players that have it, but they don't have that persona. They just don't have it. And God, that will be missed in this city. Oh my goodness. For me, as I say, I started off in disbelief, and now I'm in another place and started a place.
He was also, Jerry, one of the few individuals that we know that when he walked across the street, he really did stop traffic, didn't he?
Jimmy, again, as I said before, there's certain people that have that. And Magic Johnson, same way. The same way. And the people in Los Angeles have been blessed to see some incredibly gifted players. And he was homegrown. Irvin Johnson was homegrown. And they mean so much to this city, so much to their communities, so much to the young kids out there looking for something positive in their lives. And as I say, this is just really hard for me to believe. I just want to go to bed and think that this is a nightmare.
Jerry, when he retired, he was ready. I mean, there are a lot of guys who are forced into retirement. There are some guys who kind of adjust to retirement, but he was ready for retirement. It was almost as though everything you told him and taught him came to fruition, because when he said Mamba out, he was ready to go.
Well, Jimmy, it's not what I taught him. Your body teaches you this. It's your body. It's not... Your body talks to you all the time when you're an athlete, okay? People see athletes perform at this enormously high level, and they can't jack it up every night, regardless of how gifted they are. They can go out there and get numbers that no one else can do and influence a game. But somewhere along the way, your will gets tested, because you just don't feel like that you can compete at that level every night as you get older. But as I say, I've lost a brother in the war at 19 years of age, and to lose someone that I loved and admired, not easy.
Yeah, Jerry, we've just told that his daughter Gianna was on that plane with him.
I had heard that, Jimmy, unfortunately, and that's the one who you could always see him with in pictures. And my wife was just going through some pictures of me and my kids with him when he was a puppy. And, just think back those days, just carefree, happy, bright-eyed young man, or teenager. Frankly, I didn't even want to look at him.
Jerry, what's the life lesson? Because I know you always were teaching your players, no matter how many years they've been in the league. What's the life lesson to learn from the life of Kobe Bryant?
Hard work, dedication, beyond many, and this enormous desire to succeed. And the people are successful. A lot of people talk a good game, and they make themselves bigger in the newspaper than they really are. He lived it. He did it. And as I say, he should be an inspiration for all. You can see people's determination in a game. You can see his. And you watch that. And those are the players that I admire most. Some of them don't have his skill, but those are the players I admire most. I'm not into flashy players. I'm not into people who look pretty. I'm into results. But he happened to be pretty to watch. And my God, the results he got were enormous. And for the people in Los Angeles to watch this for 20 years, a lot of families grew up with him, okay? A lot. And a lot of people were inspired by him. And I think he'll inspire more people now, Jimmy. I think he'll be revered forever.
And it's amazing the effect that he has, and he not only had, but that he still has on players of today. I know that when he goes to a Laker game and he's sitting at courtside, or when he comes to one of your games with the Clippers, the players really they don't want to let Kobe down. They play even harder, trying to, if nothing else, just to impress him. Like we just had on the air a picture of LeBron going over and talking to him at courtside before a game.
Well, as I say, Jimmy, players like this transcend time. Okay, they do. And it's what they've accomplished before them, okay? People want to go up and walk away from the game and have that kind of acceptance from the fans. But more importantly, when you have acceptance from the players, that's what's most important. The ones that don't have that perception with the players are the ones who are not the real people. And when I say real people, I'm talking about the real players. And this guy was top of the food chain, period. That's who he was.
I remember, Jerry, once, I think it was against Utah. It was the first half, and man, the Lakers were really struggling and having a lot of difficult problems on the floor. Kobe went in at halftime and said, you know what, guys, if you don't want to win this game, get out of my way, I'll win it myself.
Well, I'll never forget playing against Utah, okay? And that game in particular, I think that changed the scope of his career.
Hi everyone, I'm Elaine Quijano. You've been watching coverage from CBS and Los Angeles. NBA legend Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. Tributes are pouring in for the former Lakers superstar. Bryant retired in 2016 after spending 20 years with the Los Angeles Lakers. Bryant was one of 5 people killed in the crash. It remains unclear at this time who else was on board. He was the 4th leading scorer in NBA history. In addition to his 5 titles with the franchise, he was also selected to the All-Star 18 times and earned an MVP award in 2008. We are awaiting a press conference from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and we'll bring that to you live as soon as it happens. But first, NBA analyst Bill Ryder joins me now by phone from Los Angeles. Bill, what more have we learned about the circumstances surrounding this crash?
Hi, Elaine. I think we'll get the official confirmation here in a few moments when the press conference you cited begins, but it has been confirmed, unfortunately, in multiple reports that among those who died in this plane crash include Kobe Bryant's 13-year-old and oldest daughter, one of her teammates parent, and presumably the pilot. 5 people in that crash. As Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and one of her teammates were headed in his helicopter to one of her youth basketball games.
And Bill, what can you tell us as news now has spread about this tragic crash? What impact has his death been having among not just sports fans, but in the broader sports world? this news of Kobe Bryant's death?
Yeah, I mean, it has been a public mourning across really the globe in the sports world and for sports fans. Neymar, one of the great soccer players on earth, scored a goal and signaled to Kobe Bryant. The only NBA game that's underway at the moment in Toronto, each of those teams intentionally at the start of the game took a 24-second shot clock violation, 24 and 24 for Kobe Bryant and his number. And so with the famous and with the athletic and athletes there is mourning. And really, you know, my kids, Elaine, we live here in LA, we're down at the beach, and there was just, as the news broke, there was an eerie silence, and teenagers and adults talking in shocked tones about how this can't be real. There is, here in Los Angeles, and I would imagine beyond it, just a quiet level of shock as the reality of this. We all start to do our best to process it and make sense of it.
Bill, why do you think Kobe Bryant was such a beloved figure in the Los Angeles area? Yes, but not just in LA, but, you know, I was looking on Twitter at LeBron James' comments from, I believe, just last night, talking about his reflections, seeing Kobe Bryant. This was before, of course, the helicopter. The inspiration that he drew from watching Kobe Bryant on the basketball court.
Yeah, it's a great question because he resonated. People in so many ways, and I think it's that, and it's rare, right? This unique combination of both all-time greatness, and as a basketball player he was, but also being a very, very complicated human being. I mean, if you competed against Kobe Bryant, he wanted to destroy your self-confidence, your well-being, your hope, any belief you had that you could beat him on the floor, and yet there was a remarkable charm away from it. He was the most beloved figure, the most beloved sports figure by a wide margin in Los Angeles, and the connection he had was so powerful to be almost cult-like and emotional. But there obviously in Kobe Bryant's life were some dark moments, including accusations of sexual assault. He was a basketball player, yes, but he was also a Renaissance man in business. It turned out in art. He spoke multiple languages. He'd lived abroad in Italy with his family, and so he had a worldliness. This was a complicated guy, and if you tried to say that Kobe Bryant was just one thing, you were missing the 50 other things that defined him. And I think as a father and a parent, which makes this even more tragic than it otherwise would have been, Kobe Bryant's a dad for a lot of folks, and maybe for Kobe, like it does for a lot of fathers with daughters. It took some of the rough spots off, right? I think it gave him some perspective, and whatever it did for him as an individual, you could see as a father the love he had for his children. The last time I ever saw Kobe Bryant in person, he was with his daughter, his oldest daughter, who passed away in that flight today. And so all of these things, this sort of crucible that of the ingredients that went into Kobe Bryant made him likable and loathed. And in the end, I think, Elaine, it added up to a real level of respect, and respect for his talent and for his mind and for his formidability and who he became as a father. And I think that's all of those things people are mourning today.
And Bill, what kind of a presence did he still sort of retain there in the Los Angeles area, given the fact that, I mean, he hadn't played since 2016?
Yeah, you would think he was the president of the United States when you saw him walk through Staples Center or be somewhere. And again, the last game I went to a few weeks ago when Kobe Bryant was there, I mean, obviously, Elaine, LeBron James was in the building. He plays, right? He plays for the Lakers. He's a big star. And if memory serves, maybe it was Rihanna. Some, like they always are at Lakers games, some superstar celebrity was there. And Anthony Davis is kind of a big deal. I mean, it's a who's who when you go to a Lakers. But it was when Kobe Bryant walked in. And not even when he walked in, there was a ripple. You could feel it in the building. And people started whispering, Kobe's coming, Kobe's coming. And when he walked out of that tunnel near the floor, there was not a gasp, just an exclamation of, I mean, you would think that a group of people were watching someone literally walk on water to watch Kobe walk onto the floor. His impact, his connection, his hold over the city, it was absolute, and it was so real and authentic. It lasted well beyond, as you pointed out, when he could actually help the city. LA is usually a town when you can't offer something anymore, LA will sort of move on from you. That wasn't true for Kobe. There was an emotional connection beyond what he was able to do as a basketball player, and that's certainly part of what's being processed and dealt with today here in Southern California.
Bill, I wonder if you can talk at all about the fact that it was quite an active, quote-unquote, retirement for him as well, that in fact in those years after leaving basketball as a player, he was still very much keeping it busy, including coaching his daughter's team.
Yeah, there are a lot of NBA players and former athletes who, as we know, Elaine, retire young and retire with money, and you have to fill your time. Many of them, some of them are friends of mine, they take up golf. That was never going to be Kobe Bryant. That competitive need, right, to win, to dominate, to feel alive in that way for him, it defined his post-playing career. He was a very successful entrepreneur, was moving into movies and production. You're right, as a coach of his daughter's team, and she was, you know, an amazing talent in her own right, and the pride for her dad of what she was becoming. He continued to be aggressively involved in the things that mattered to him. His daughter's basketball team, being a father, some of these entrepreneurial ventures that he was a part of. I have some colleagues and some friends since I'm in sports media who tried to pitch some ideas to Kobe's production company, and I remember a couple sets of friends and colleagues marveling. A few of them made it to the level where Kobe was in the meeting, just the aptitude and the shrewdness and the competitiveness with which he came to those meetings. He wanted to win, he wanted to be successful, and so you're right. I mean, Kobe wasn't a Laker as a player anymore, but everything we saw in his playing days, he poured into his family as a father, into youth basketball games, into his production company, into a number of myriad projects. He was, you know, we all try to live life and seize the day while we can. He did it every single moment in whatever endeavor he was engaged in at that time.
Absolutely. All right, we want to let our viewers know we're continuing to keep our eye on that picture there on the right-hand part of your screen, Calabasas, California, where we expect local authorities to hold a news conference within the hour, is what we understand. So we're going to continue to monitor that and, of course, bring you that news conference just as soon as it happens. But, Bill, you mentioned earlier being there on the beach and sort of having this stunned silence descend around you, where people were just learning of the death of Kobe Bryant. What do you think the next few days in Los Angeles are going to be like?
You know, not to sound trite, but I think it's going to be the stages of grief. Elaine, because I'm a sports broadcaster and writer, my friends in LA are always texting me about sports. And this sort of rush of 50 or 70 text messages as the news came in, first was, we don't believe this, it can't be true. And then as more reports came in, it was, this can't be true. And now there's just, as you would imagine, the shock of it. I think there's going to be, I really believe there's going to be a public mourning here. There are going to be people crying in the streets. There's going to be anger. I mean, it's, you know, loss of life, right? Death is part of the deal for human beings, but for it to happen to Kobe Bryant in this city at the age he was at age 41, which is my age, with his daughter on board, I think it's going to be one of the most difficult, emotional, collective moments that Los Angeles has ever had.
We want to let you know as well that President Obama has tweeted regarding this news as well, and we want to show our viewers that tweet. We showed you President Trump's tweet earlier in the afternoon, but there you see the tweet from President Obama. Kobe was a legend on the court and just getting started in what would have been just as meaningful as second act. To lose Gianna is even more heartbreaking to us as parents. Michelle and I send love and prayers to Vanessa and the entire Bryant family on an unthinkable day. Bill, you had touched on this a moment ago, the effect that having a family, and particularly being a father to daughters, that you saw perhaps, you know, be a factor in the evolution of Kobe Bryant. I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about that, because earlier when we were listening to our CBSN Los Angeles station, they had Jerry West on, who talked about what he saw as sort of a very profound influence in Kobe Bryant's becoming a father to daughters.
I think that's absolutely right. And, you know, as a father of a daughter who is 10, I can relate to, you know, when you're a man and you try to be a good person, a good human being, a good husband, and you think you understand, you think you understand the opposite sex. You get a rude awakening when you have a little girl.
Yeah.
And, that's sort
he
of...
was surrounded by,
you're surrounded by worries and by a love you never imagined, and frankly, by a perspective on what it is to be in the case of a father, my daughter, and Kobe Bryant's daughter, a young woman that you never understood. And so Kobe Bryant had sort of talked about this, right? Had talked about people coming up to him when Gianna, his daughter, was standing next to him and saying to Kobe, with her standing there, when are you going to get a son so that the legacy can continue? And her snapping back, I got that covered, right? And those, you could just see Kobe telling that story if you watch the clip on Late Night where he told it very, very, as he tended to effectively, not just like, be quiet, my man, but, my daughter gets it and I get her. There was, for any complicated human being, for any complicated man, when you have a daughter, and in Kobe Bryant's case, many, many daughters, and you have that level of love, it can only shape you, can only affect you. And I like Kobe. Like, he's a charming guy, but he had an edge to him. I mean, he had a competitive fire, and it was different, right? It was contained and channeled. There was just an overwhelming amount of love that came with that when you saw him with his daughter. And the last time that I did see him at this Lakers game, it was Gianna who he brought with him, and there was just an amazing moment where he got a standing ovation, and they shared it together, and you really... he became, and maybe he was always a complete man, Elaine, and we didn't see it, but in the public eye, there was a completeness to him. There was a three-dimensional reality that seeing him as a loving, doting father created, for those of us that had followed him as more the cutthroat competitor basketball player.
So, Bill, earlier in the afternoon, we were talking with CBS This Morning Saturday co-host Dana Jacobson, who had just sat down with Kobe Bryant to talk about sort of the chapter that he was in now, which was really focusing on being a storyteller, which may be something surprising for some folks who might not have realized the depth of feeling that Kobe Bryant had for that particular issue and trying to tell stories. Can you talk a little bit at all about that? That seemed to be an area of focus that was just as intense as perhaps what he had done on the basketball court itself.
And Elaine, you'll appreciate this as a person who's covered high-level politics. Kobe Bryant, when I covered him, I was around him, no one, in sports certainly, with all respect from LeBron, was more of a master of the narrative of his own story. The ability to pull reporters aside and give access to really, he operated like some sort of White House spin guru on his own behalf, and you could tell that he enjoyed the competition of creating his own story and creating his own narrative and trying to define as best he could the way the public saw him. So just doing what you do when you're in the public spotlight, which is talk to the people that shape the news and trying to have reporters who would see his perspective and trying to co-opt them as best he could, which is no easy task in LA. And so, when I heard that he had this interest in narrative and in storytelling, it made sense, because in looking back, I think he always understood his own career, right? When he stepped off the floor in that context, I think he understood the idea of, beginning, a middle, and end of heroes and villains. This is a guy who operated with so much depth and so much smarts in everything he did that doesn't surprise me. And I can remember, in dealing with him, and I'm sure you've been through this, Elaine, too, thinking, man, I got to be careful how charming this guy is and how aware he is of what he wants, because he feels like we're playing chess right now, even though it's just a polite conversation, because he understood, in a way that I respect, he understood the idea of building a story in the long term. Does not surprise me. Once that competition with reporters went away, he decided to do it himself professionally.
Right. So as you've been speaking about, I'm told that we have another tweet that we want to show. As tributes have been pouring in, we've of course been monitoring social media. Oh, I'm told it's Assad. Let's go ahead and listen to that reaction now from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
It's very difficult for me to put in words how I feel about the loss of Kobe Bryant. As a young boy, I met him when he was 11 or 12 years old. I was friends with his dad, Joe. We were former adversaries. Joe played for the 76ers, but he was a good friend and someone that I shared a friendship. And it's hard for me to understand now how this is affecting Joe and his wife. So to Kobe's family, I want to send my most sincere and heartfelt regrets and prayers, and my thoughts are with you guys. Kobe was an incredible family man. He loved his wife and daughters. He was an incredible athlete and a leader in a lot of ways. He inspired a whole generation of young athletes. He was one of the first ones to leave high school, come into the NBA, and do so well, dominating the game and becoming one of the best scorers that the Los Angeles Lakers has ever seen. I had the privilege of being there when he scored his 81-point game, and it was something that I will always remember as one of the highlights of the things that I have learned and observed in sports. Kobe, my thoughts are with you. Absolutely. Rest in peace, young man. This loss it's just hard to comprehend. Go with God.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar reacting to the news of Kobe Bryant's death. Bill, you're still with us. I want to ask about the outpouring of support that we're seeing, that we're beginning to see for the family of Kobe Bryant, for his wife and his other daughters. Can you talk a little bit about that kind of support, which I imagine will be a flood here in the next few days?
Yes, I mean, it's going to, I think, Elaine, be a complicated reality for this family, because they are going to have a level of support, of love, of well wishes, of kindnesses from Los Angeles and beyond given their way, thrown their way, while I would imagine also having to deal with the desire for the privacy they're going to need to mourn, a father and a husband and a second oldest daughter, and just, as a parent, and as awful as the Kobe Bryant story is, and 41 is so young, as President Obama noted in the tweet that you read, and just, as other folks have said, the reality that it is Kobe Bryant and it is, the daughter of Kobe and Vanessa is, that is a difficulty that I can't and wouldn't want to have to comprehend as a parent. And while Los Angeles, and beyond Los Angeles, there's going to be so much love and support sent their way, there's also going to be, I'm sure, a balance that has to be struck as for a family that will be in the spotlight in a way they never have been, on a level, in terms of the mourning and sadness that they never have been, that's going to want some privacy.
All right, to keep our viewers updated here, we're continuing to monitor this picture out of Calabasas, California. On your right, you see that is where we are expecting local authorities to hold a news conference. And now we're getting some guidance that perhaps that news conference might be pushed back just a little bit. It was originally set for the top of the hour, now looking like more the bottom of the hour here. So that'll be 5:30 Eastern time, 2:30 local time there, Bill, where you are. So we'll continue, of course, as soon as that news conference gets underway. Watch this picture and we'll bring you that news conference as it happens. But Bill, as I was saying a moment ago, we are watching social media to see what kind of tributes have been coming in. And I want to show a tweet now from Shaquille O'Neal, who weighed in on Twitter just a short time ago about this, posting pictures there you can see as well as this. There's no words to express the pain I'm going through with this tragedy of losing my niece Gigi and my brother Kobe Bryant. I love you and you will be missed. My condolences go out to the Bryant family and the families of the other passengers on board. I'm sick right now. Bill, as someone who has covered prominent sports figures, a number of them, we see a little bit more activity there, by the way, but still no sign of this news conference actually starting. But as someone who has covered prominent sports figures, I would imagine the impact of the loss of someone like a Kobe Bryant, though, is going to be unique, given the longevity of his career with the LA Lakers. The fact that, he stayed in this one community and accomplished all that he did in basketball, remaining with this team when, as we know, loyalty oftentimes is something that fans are very, very tuned into. And when there's a perceived disloyalty, fans don't take to that kindly. Can you just talk about that a little bit? The fact that you have a figure here who undoubtedly could have gone to any number of teams, I would have imagined, but stayed with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, Elaine, that's an amazing point, because fans, you're right, I mean, fans are, I'm a fan, right? We are irrational when it comes to, these human beings who have, careers, families, want to live in different cities. You can certainly ask Los Angeles Laker LeBron James what it's like when he changes cities, and that's always been true. It really became true for Kobe Bryant in an era where it became commonplace for players to move on and move to other places. And Kobe Bryant, at the end of his career, had he gone somewhere else those last few years, absolutely could have placed himself on a team where he had a chance to win other championships. But he was always a Laker, and he was always going to be a Laker through good and through bad. And that was, there's a juxtaposition there between him and Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal was drafted by the Orlando Magic and then became a Laker. Obviously, and one of the ironies and one of the complications of Kobe Bryant is he and Shaq were so unable to get along. Shaquille left, Shaq left and went to, married other teams, including the Heat, where he won one championship and Kobe won two without him. And yet in the end, there was a respect and a love that brought them back and created a friendship sort of post-playing career. And all of those things are wrapped up in why Kobe is so beloved here. And you said it. He was always going to be a Laker. He was never going to go anywhere else. The closest it came is when he was frustrated the midway through his career and was threatening to go be a Clipper or forced to trade somewhere else. And the story is that Dr. Jerry Buss, brought him to his home and said to him, "You'll be a Laker for life, and we're committed to that." And I can remember talking to Jeannie Buss, who now is the controlling owner of the Lakers, and obviously the daughter of an heir of Dr. Buss, saying that for her, for the Lakers family, Kobe Bryant was always going to be a part of the family, not just a part of the organization. And that's one of the things that define the Lakers. They're a family-run business in what has become a multi-billion-dollar corporately run enterprise with most of their competitors. And that's hard to hold on to, Elaine. And to have a family-run business when you're an NBA team, you have to have NBA players who want to regard themselves as family as much as employees. And Kobe did that. And that will always be a part of the reason that his connection with this city will be lasting and will be real. Because where most people left, and no judgment on LeBron James or Dwayne Wade or all the other contemporaries, Rajon Rondo, Kobe Bryant was always going to be a Laker and always will be, and that's rare. And in Los Angeles, that's special.
All right, NBA analyst Bill Ryder. Bill, thank you very much for sharing your insights and reflections with us.
Happy to be here.
All right, we're going to continue to monitor. Again, that news conference is expected to happen here within the hour. We're told perhaps the bottom of the hour. But right now, let's take you back to CBS in Los Angeles for their continuing coverage.
I just got the news, and like I said, I was actually getting dressed maybe a little over an hour ago, and somebody told me that, and I just stopped what I was doing, and I waited a minute or two, and I asked him reconfirm that, because either
I think all of us did.
Yeah, it's either I don't believe this, so I just don't want to believe this. But every time we ever came across each other's paths, I let him know I was a genuine fan of his work. He always moved himself in silence. He was always so classy. He was a great example on so many different levels, and a huge loss.
For me, as a fan since the beginning of Kobe Bryant's career, as a mother myself, my heart just goes out to Vanessa. That's the same word that we keep hearing over and over here on the carpet. We'll, of course, continue to get reaction as the Grammys continue. We are live in downtown LA. I'm Brittany Hoffman. Back to you guys.
All right, Brittany, it's just hard to imagine how, you could celebrate under circumstances like this. It's obviously a dark cloud cast over that event at Staples Center, where Kobe spent so much of his career.
Exactly, and that's where his two jerseys hang in the rafters, and that will obviously be on the minds of a lot of people tonight as the Staples Center is hosting the Grammy Awards. He had a big impact, obviously, on the music industry as well. He transcended sports, and a lot of people responding today, reacting to that, from the red carpet to Calabasas to his home in Newport Beach to all over the globe.
We just want to let you know that we do have reporters fanning out all over the area. We're going to continue to cover this breaking news for you. Such a tremendous loss for the Los Angeles area. And reaction has been pouring in. We just, into our newsroom now, are getting a statement from NBA Commissioner Adam Silver regarding the death of Kobe Bryant. And we're going to read some of that to you now. It says, the NBA family is devastated by tragic passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, Gianna. For 20 seasons, Kobe showed us what is possible when remarkable talent blends with an absolute devotion to winning. He was one of the most extraordinary players in the history of our game, with accomplishments that are legendary. 5 NBA championships, an NBA MVP award, 18 NBA All-Star selections, and 2 Olympic gold medals.
He went on to say that he will be most remembered, this is talking about Kobe, for inspiring people around the world to pick up a basketball and compete to the very best of their ability. He was generous with the wisdom he acquired, saw it as his mission to share it with future generations of players, taking special delight in passing down his love of the game to Gianna.
We send our heartfelt condolences to his wife, Vanessa, and their family, the Lakers organization, and the entire sports world. That statement again from NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. I believe this will be one of many statements that we see this evening. I imagine the Lakers themselves will be putting something out. We may hear from Jeannie Buss in a statement. Jim Hill was talking about their special relationship, Jeannie and Kobe, and how she was a main reason why Kobe chose to stay here in Los Angeles.
You're taking pictures here from the scene earlier this morning in Calabasas around 9:45. Kobe Bryant, dead at the age of 41 in a helicopter crash. His daughter, Gianna, as well, one of the victims. This was again about 9:45 this morning. We were expecting a LA County Fire Department press conference around 2 o'clock today. We will be taking that live when that occurs. We understand that they're going to brief us from the scene related to this accident. We do know the NTSB is sending what they are calling a GO team, a special team to investigate this crash. They are set to arrive in Los Angeles this evening, and we do have some new information that flight with Kobe Bryant and his daughter originated from Long Beach this morning.
You know, Jeff, you talked a little bit about the area where this crash happened, an area that you're familiar with, I know. It's a really hilly area, and we talked with an eyewitness earlier who heard the crash, saw the crash. We were talking about how there are sometimes low-flying helicopters in this area. You know, you and I have both covered some of the wildfires that have happened here in the greater Los Angeles area, so residents are used to, in some way, seeing these low-flying helicopters. But what is exceptional today is this fog, and we've seen it pretty much throughout the evening all over the Los Angeles area, this very dense fog. This investigation into how this crash happened is going to take some time. Experience tells us it could take up to a year before they find, you know, their complete conclusion as to what happened here. But certainly visibility could have been very, very bad today.
You know, these are large helicopters. I believe this one could hold 12 people. We know 5 are on board, but these large helicopters do have the black boxes that I understand have been recovered at the scene, which will give them a lot of information. We do have some breaking news from the Orange County Register. We understand that other victim on board of this aircraft, this helicopter, was an Orange County coach by the name of Jonathan Altobelli. I believe that's his last name. Jonathan Altobelli was on board with Kobe Bryant and Kobe's daughter, Gianna. That's the latest information that we have on this tragedy that occurred early this morning, 9:45 in Calabasas. This Sikorsky S-76 crashed in Calabasas near Las Virgenes, and it appears that all 5 on board perished, and that includes Kobe Bryant, his daughter, Gianna, and as well this coach from Orange County, Jonathan Altobelli.
All right, we do have a photo of Jonathan Altobelli, or John Altobelli as he may be known. He was a coach at Orange Coast College. It looks like, according to the school's website, he may have been the head coach of the baseball team there, and his bio says that he's holding honors as the longest tenured baseball coach in school history. I know so many of you are wondering about the other people that were on board. Again, the Orange County Register reporting this man, John Altobelli, a head coach of baseball at Orange Coast College, as one of those people. And perhaps you are wondering why we are not hearing more about the other victims in this crash. And the answer to that is simply we are just now getting this information in. We only for a long time knew with certainty that Kobe Bryant had been one of the 5 people who perished in this crash. And now this breaking news. And, you know, a whole other family that is going to be living through this nightmare and this tragedy. This is just as sad and awful. You know, and it's really, really hard. I know as a journalist and as a father, you feel the same way. Any story that we cover, hearing about a child losing their life, a parent losing a child, it just hits you in such a personal and upsetting way. And to hear about the loss of this coach, and certainly we may have a family as well, and the loss of Kobe Bryant, and now we're hearing the loss of his 13-year-old daughter, I think for so many people that just really puts this